The following two activities use the label cards shown to the right, along with the attribute pieces that were used earlier in the lesson. These label something about attribute pieces, such as blue or four-sided or not yellow. The bottom row, about thick or thin, is not relevant for a paper set of attributes, but they are useful if you're using a set of wood or plastic set. All right, so the first activity is guess the loop label. One person chooses one of the label cards and keeps it secret from the rest of the group. That same person sets out a loop made of yarn. The loop should be large enough to hold at least half the attribute pieces inside of it. Others in the group take turns choosing an attribute piece and asking the first person whether it goes in the loop or outside, and then placing the piece in the appropriate place. A piece goes in the loop if it has the characteristic on the label. So as an example, if say the label card read not red, then you might have something like this, where yellow and blue pieces are inside the loop and red pieces are outside. When someone thinks they have figured out the characteristic on the label, they do not say it out loud, but rather they pick up a piece and say they are going to put it in the correct place. The person who knows the secret label says whether they correctly placed the piece. You keep going until the characteristic on the label is figured out by all the group members. And for a second activity, an extension using intersections, is the guess the loop label using two labels. So one person chooses two of the label cards and keeps them secret from the rest of the group. The cards label something about attribute pieces, such as blue or four-sided or not yellow. When first doing this activity, it's easier not to use labels that have the word not in them. And then after playing several times, then the not labels could be used. That same person sets out two loops of yarn. The loops should each be large enough to hold at least half the attribute pieces inside, and the loops should overlap, with nothing inside the loops at this point. One of the chosen secret label cards will apply to one loop, and the other card to the other loop. So, for example, maybe something like this, where I'll have like one loop that deals with large pieces, and a second loop that deals with triangles. Others in the group take turns choosing an attribute piece and asking the first person where it goes. It might go only in the first loop, only in the second loop, or in the middle in the intersection, if it belongs to both loops. The piece is then placed in the appropriate place. And as before, when someone thinks they have figured out the labels for the loops, they do not say it out loud, but rather they pick up a piece and say they're going to put it in the right place. The person who knows the label says whether they did it right. And keep going until the labels are figured out by all the group members. Then you can discuss. How would you describe the intersection of the two sets? How would you describe the union? So you might end up with something like this if my loops were large and triangle. So you can see that over here are the large shapes. Over here are these would be small shapes, small triangles. In the middle are the large triangles, and then outside would be small shapes that are not triangles.